Hey, how's everyone doing? This is Undrafted Hockey Fan with Brad. We are going over some NHL news today. We have quite a bit. There's a couple of big things I want to knock out. We got this in 3 sections. Of course, we're going to be talking about the Detroit Red Wings at the end. So we got the Darnell Nurse hit. Reaves hit more so in the suspension there. We got Taylor Hall, Jack Campbell, Eric Johnson, Vasilevsky. I mean, there's a lot of good things happening. And so we got a lot of things to cover. So first off, what I want to do is I want to knock out. I want to talk about this Reaves hit. It was brutal, man. I saw it last night and I was like, Jesus, that was. I mean, like the way you watch it is tough. And I don't know if you guys haven't checked it out before. It is rough. I mean, to me, so it's kind of what we have to do is we have to talk about what the issue is with penalties like this. Not penalties. It's just hits. It's hits like this, and so I understand when you see the hit, Darnell Nurse has his head up and everything. He sees it. Well, I guess he doesn't see it that well, right? So, but the idea around it is that he's he's Reeves has to hit him properly. It is the responsibility of the. Geez, I'm looking at a review right now. It's responsibility of Reeves to hit him properly, such that you don't make head contact. You go through the body. And to me, I think it was an accident. I mean, I'll put a video of the replay and everything, but it looks like. I mean, he looks like the intention went to hit him, but it doesn't look like he intended to hit him in the face. And you can see. I mean, the blood on his contact. Jesus, it is. I can't play the video. Unfortunately, it'll get demonetized. But it is tough to watch. So what ended up happening is that you see that it's 2-1. Second period, 17 minutes and 19 seconds left in the second period. Toronto versus Edmonton. Of course, it's going to be a tough game. A team like Toronto, a team like Edmonton is trying to get back to a spot where they're a leader in the Pacific Pacific Division. They're trying to. I mean, they're having a slow start. Some of had. It's not similar to last year. I mean, that was last year was terrible. But they're having a rough start to the season, and they're trying to get back. And when you come back to when you go to come to Toronto, you're looking to make a statement game. You're looking to make sure that everyone knows, hey, we're back. We're coming back. We're coming hard. Because when you win in Toronto, it's a big deal because everyone talks about it because it's Toronto. It's the biggest market in the NHL. It's similar to when you win against the Dallas Cowboys. It's the biggest team in the NFL. This is the biggest market. 48% of I think it's like 48% of people that live in Canada or like in the Toronto area. It's something crazy in that small little section. Like in Canada's massive, but when you think about how many people live there, it's just why you have a huge fan base. I mean, there's some crazy fans. There's a lot of genuinely great fans there. I mean, the Steve Dangle podcast, if you haven't listened to that before, it's phenomenal. It's my favorite podcast. It's my favorite podcast. It's my favorite hockey podcast for sure. It's definitely striving they're doing what I want to be doing eventually. So, and so they have a great setup and everything. Go check them out. But they talk about this and they talk about being in Toronto. It's almost a symptom of being a Toronto Maple Leafs fan is that you're stuck with all this coverage and people all really step up and everyone's from the Toronto area, right? So they want to strive and do better. A lot of people want to come to play for Toronto because it's their hometown team, so they rooted for. John Tavares did this. Mitch Marner got drafted there. Of course, he loves it there. Wants to stay. And of course, one of the biggest stars that got drafted, Austin Matthews, goes there as well. So Edmonton is looking to make a statement. They're looking to play well, playing hard. And Darnell Nurse, of course, not in the best contract, but he is still a good player. Probably not worth the $9 million a year that he's getting paid, but it's nine and a half, somewhere around there. So to me, like, I think that they were genuinely they're trying to play their game, play well. And I think Reaves really hasn't had the same statements as you'd think he would. Like, I think he has 0 points right now, which is actually honestly a bit crazy. I think he has 0 points and like 0 fights. We'll pull up his stats real quick just to get a better bit of clarity on that. But like again, you're not looking to replace the guy in the sense of you replace the guy in the sense of vibes. And everyone talked about this when he got signed. They signed like a $1.35 million per year, 3-year contract. And you don't sign Reaves for the points. Excuse me. You sign for the vibes. So if I'm looking at Ryan Reaves right now, he does have 1 point. 16 games he's played, one point he plays 7.5 minutes a night. And in those 7.5 minutes, he has had 23 minutes penalty time. I think he has the most on the team. He does. He has the most on the team with the most amount of penalty minutes with the least amount of ice time. The second most is Max Domi with 21, and it has 15 minutes. So you know what you're signing, what you are bringing Reaves in for. But you're doing to change the dynamic of the game. We're trying to change the pace of the game. But things like this are unacceptable. Straight up, I know it took me a while to get here, but hits like this are unacceptable because it's unacceptable even if it's by accident. That's what I'm trying to emphasize is that if you never should go for the head. That is, everyone is looking to have careers after this. That's why a lot of people are concerned about Matt Rempe because he's getting in so many fights so quickly. And like, dude, that guy's head, you got to like watch for concussion and everything. And they show that like CTE is like a really big issue for head trauma and everything. And you can have a real degradation in your quality of life. And so when you look at hits like this, you're like, man, like, what's the long-term damage on concussions for Nurse? What is it on his head? Looked like it got spun around practically. Like it went a full 90 degrees. And it is you literally you see the side of his face and then you suddenly see the back of his head but his body hadn't moved. And so it literally whipped back and forth. It is pretty gross. I actually don't want to watch it again. It's unacceptable. And what ended up happening? He ended up having a hearing, and he gets a 5-game suspension. And I think that's probably fairly appropriate. I probably would have gone 6 even just because it's those types of head contacts are, again, you try to get those out of the game. That the goal, if I could win one and about the NHL, I'd say let's get rid of head contact any way possible. I don't know how you do that, but like getting rid of head contact is just, I mean, you break your arm, that sucks. Absolutely. Break your leg, hurt your shoulder, break a rib. Those all suck. Your head it's your quality of life there. And I think it's unacceptable. So he gets 5 games. And just to give you an idea, Tanner Jeannot did get suspended. I forget who was it on. Jeannot suspension. He got suspended as well on a hit that he had a 3-game hit. Or sorry, it's the head of Brock Besser, who I'm pretty sure he is out for concussion as well. So, and he'll be out. Did not return to the game. That was on November 7th. And so he's suspended for 3 games for an illegal check to the head. So we get Ryan Reaves, who has been suspended 3 times, has a reputation around the league. He's been suspended 3 times before this. So he gets the head hit right there. Your 3 games plus repeat offender. You get an extra 2 games. He ends up losing, I think, $35,000 from that, which is nothing in the sense of how much he's made over his career and everything. But it's still it's tough. It's because you don't want to see it, right? Like I know a lot of people hate on Darnell Nurse because he doesn't play up to his contract, but it doesn't mean that anyone should deserve the head contact like that. He might be better as like a 2C or a 2C second pair guy, but again, you don't want to see that in the game. It's just not. It's not good long term, right? Again, these guys are gonna have lives outside of this. Before they do have lives outside of hockey. Hockey isn't their full thing. It is a main part of their personality for the time being, right? And they play hockey their whole lives. They play up to their mid to late 30s. If you're fortunate enough, but a lot of guys have careers after this. They go to management, they go in coaching, you can do real estate, you can do investment, you can just golf the rest of your life if you make enough money, right? But you still need your head. You still want to be present for your kids. You want to be, you don't want to have migraines the rest of your life and they're going to reduce your quality of life. So it's just one of those things where I'm really against head hits. It is. I was having a discussion with my cousins and everything on text, and and they play hockey on like a regular basis. I play hockey as well. I'm doing some outdoor roller hockey stuff, but and I've played ice before. I've been hit. I've had punches. I played last year with my brother's league down in Texas. And it's just something that we want to get out of the game. And again, a 5 game seems probably appropriate. I probably would have gone maybe another one, maybe, right? But again, it's just, to me, I don't know what we do to get out of the game, and it's just hard. So there's no easy transition out of this. So I do want to talk about the thing, because this is a little more heavy again. We have Jack Campbell is now on waivers. Jack Campbell did enter the player assistance program earlier this year. And that could be anything. By the player assistance program is it could be it can be drug related, it can be anxiety related, depression, alcohol, family issues, family trauma. Like an assortment of things. It's basically saying, hey, I need to take time. I'm not fit to play. I'm mentally not fit to play right now. We saw that with Nichushkin. He had an issue. He had an issue with a girl he found in his hotel. Rumor, by the way. And he went in player assistance program. I think there was some dealing with some alcohol or potential drugs. And then he broke his probation. So he got a 6 months ban, 6 months ban, probation, suspension. Anyways, and so Nichushkin he's almost done serving that. I think he may just got back from that. But yeah, I mean, guys dealing with real issues. I mean, that's why, like, I don't really hate players. You never hate players. You don't like teams, right? You don't like the way guys do some things, right? But you don't ever hate players because they're just people at the end of the day. And they're on Twitter, they're on Facebook, they're seeing your comments, they're on YouTube, they watch. You think that you watch highlights? They also watch. I know I watch highlights, right? I'm sure they got burner accounts. I'm sure they're looking at other stuff too. So, like, to me, they're on the internet, they're seeing a lot of these things. So I don't talk ill will, but I'll talk about things that need to be changed, things that I'm like I don't approve of. I'm talking about it right now. I don't approve the hit on Reaves, but as long as it's not malintent, and we're not talking about like a Bertuzzi slash to the back behind, right? Like these accidents happen, but the goal is like we want these guys to be treated as people because they are people. They're just people like us. They just play an amazing game that we absolutely love, and the reason you're listening to this podcast. So, we're gonna jump into our first break and everything. So we'll come back. We'll talk about a couple of news and updates within the league. Moving on to the rest of the NHL news. Welcome back. We got a couple things here. We got yeah, of course, Natchez is looking hot, but I do want to talk about a couple of things in here, just to get a couple quick hits where I talk about the Pedersen and Natchez, one who's struggling, one who's flourishing, and who were in trade talks potentially last year. But let's jump over to quick acknowledgement real quick. Eric Johnson playing his 1,000th game. He's currently playing with the Philadelphia Flyers. I mean, that's amazing. It's a huge milestone. Not I mean, it's rare for a reason, right? To be able to have that type of longevity and everything is huge. So again, congratulations to Eric Johnson. I think he was a very high pick, I'm very sure. So I mean, it's honestly impressive when you see like guys like this, because you're like, oh man, dude, like you forget about some players sometimes. And mind you, this is actually a first overall draft pick, by the way, in 2006 by the St. Louis Blues. I mean, he's had mostly most notably, he has never really lived up to the standards, I'd say, of a first overall pick. The highest amount of points that he had was 39 points in 80 games in 13-14 with the Blues, 13-14 with Colorado and 9-10 with the Blues. Overall, just not like the massive point getter that you would think. But I mean, this guy has played a ton of hockey, 1,000 games, 345 points. Again, maybe didn't hit, light it up in that sense that you'd like to see him. But again, just a still thorough player. Oh, dude, I mean, what a bummer, by the way. I'm looking at the draft class. So he got drafted in 2006. These are some people that the St. Louis Blues missed out on that they could have gotten. They could have gotten Jordan Staal, Jonathan Taves, Nicholas Backstrom. I mean, dude, this is tough. I mean, there's a ton of guys you could have got. I mean, those are some of the big names. I mean, Claude Giroux was in that draft class as well. Man, Nick Foligno. Let me see. Man, that is tough. Let's see. We'll rank it by points. I mean, there are guys that missed. I mean, I'm looking right now. There's 1, 2, 3 guys in the first round who didn't have any NHL stats at all. Again, Kyle Okposo, Derek Brassard, Jeff Petrie still had a decent career, right? So he ends up ranking like, I'd say it looks like about around the 15th most points in the draft class. Again, you'd like a little bit more from the first overall guy, but again, 1,000 players, 1,000 games is nothing to just sniff at. It is a huge accomplishment as well, and it looks like Trevor Lewis will be the next person in that class to hit that mark with 993 games played. So congratulations, Eric Johnson. That's amazing. Another one that we want to talk about is Steven Stamkos. So Steven Stamkos ended up hitting 1,100 games, which is amazing. And again, another first overall draft pick, 1,100 games, 1,145 points. He's got 45 more points than he does games. And you love to see that. You love to see that. And he's actually second most games in the draft class. The only one other that is there is Drew Doughty. Oh, dude, Jordan Eberle was part of that class. It's crazy to me how old Jordan Eberle is. You forget about the guys, like some of these guys too. Of course, my boy's out of this draft class. Eric Carlson, I'm a huge Eric Carlson fan. With over 1,000 games, 1,022. So it's huge. I love to see that. And so again, I mean, it's a huge accomplishment. Again, hope nothing but success to Nashville and him in Nashville. Which, if you didn't watch yesterday's video, we are. I roasted them. I talked a lot of shit about them. So, by the way, if I didn't mention before, if you're this far into the video, we're doing one podcast a day, one video a day. If you're on YouTube, so you can check out this podcast for every day for the rest of the year till December 31st. And if there's a lot of traction, maybe we'll continue to go after this. So if you want to stick around for the journey, let me know. Let's just jump right in. Put your favorite emoji, put your favorite, like it, subscribe it. I'd appreciate all the help I can get because, it helps, it's like a little extra. Ooh, and also I just joined BlueSky. I'm also on X, but it looks like a lot of hockey Twitters end up moving away from X and going to BlueSky. So please follow me at BlueSky as well. I'll put those links down below as well. So another thing I want to talk about is Vasilevsky being the fastest goalie to 300 wins. I mean, we talk about guys that are elite. These are goalies that are elite, and Vasilevsky now hasn't had the same. He hasn't had the same like track record as he had before, where like he had that surgery, and so everyone's kind of like, oh, like, is he the same guy? And I mean, it's still Vasilevsky, right? It is still a guy who's putting up amazing numbers. I mean, even this year, like the Lightning they're doing pretty well this year. He's got 14 games played. How many wins he got? 8 wins, 5 losses, one overtime loss, a 9.2 goals against average. By the way, that's above his average right now. His normal average. His average as a goalie is 0.917, which is amazing. Currently, I put up a 215. He's doing just fine. I thought he was going to be doing way worse. But you don't get to 300 wins without being able to put up great numbers year in and year out. And so it is one of those things where I'm like, I'm curious on who will be the next one. Who will be the next goalie? Will it be Shesterkin that beats him? I mean, it's got to be Shesterkin, or it's got to be who's the guy in the Islanders? There's Varlamov. Why can't I think of it? Why can't I think of the New York Islanders? Honestly, and it's one of those things that just bug me. Not Shesterkin. It starts with an S too, which is the most frustrating thing. Is that you're like, dude, like it is not Shesterkin. I know who's ever listening to this is probably like kicking themselves. They're like, dude, it's this guy, and I'm like, dude, I honestly wish I knew offhand, and I can't. Where is it? Sorokin. I knew I was close, dude. Anyways, besides that, so congratulations to Vasilevsky playing so phenomenally, and then of course the most biggest pain in my butt being a Red Wings fan, being that they traded Yzerman when he was with Tampa Bay, traded with Ken Holland when he was running the Red Wings, and what he ended up doing is he traded a first round pick for this player. I forget what player it is. It was like it didn't work out basically, and they draft Vasilevsky, Vasilevsky, and so and especially from being a Red Wings fan in the Atlantic, I had to Kyle Quincy. It was draft picks traded from Detroit Red Wings with Sebastian Pesci. I don't know who he is. For Kyle Quincy, who it was his 2012. I mean, it was the end of their dynasty, right? Like they were still trying to limp into the playoffs and everything. And so the Red Wings now have to stomach having their GM picking Vasilevsky with a pick that the Detroit Red Wings had an original Detroit Red Wings pick. And so it's frustrating, man. I mean, by the way, good for Vasilevsky. It's infuriating being a fan of Atlantic Division team. So, anywho, one other notable news is Taylor Hall. By the way, I apologize for the coughing. I'm just now. The reason I'm recording so much is because I missed the last couple of weeks because I was getting over bronchitis. So, but Taylor Hall is scratched. That is very interesting because you have a team like the Chicago Blackhawks who just aren't very good. They're one of the worst in the league. And so you're like, okay, you're going to end up scratching a guy who's playing on your second line. I mean, it's Taylor Hall. It is again, we're talking about these first overall draft picks, right? You have Connor Bedard first overall draft pick, Taylor Hall first overall draft pick. Like, so why are you scratching these guys? Like, it doesn't make sense. Who's gonna? I know you're trying to send a message, and I think that is that's what you do when you're trying to check out the roster a little bit. Is you need to send a message to say, hey, I don't care if you were a former first overall draft pick. I don't care if you're Taylor Hall. I don't care if you're Marty Brodeur. I don't care if you're any big name. You're Brad Marchand. You're sitting because you're not playing the way that we need you to play. And Taylor Hall has actually spoke about how he wants to sign with Chicago and stay with the team and everything. But at this rate, if he's going to get scratch like this, maybe they don't want to keep him, right? Maybe they want to look at it. And plenty of teams will take a Taylor Hall. They'll take him as a second, third line guy. As a Red Wings fan, I would take him on the second line. Absolutely. And again, he's not even making that much. I mean, we'll check out Puckpedia. If you haven't checked out Puckpedia, Cap Friendly used to be the one that you go to if you're looking at contracts. I'm a huge fan of contracts, and so what I'm looking for is I'm looking at what is he getting paid per year, so that way we can say, hey, like, what does it make sense? And we talked about Darnell Nurse earlier. Mind you, Taylor Hall is 33, making $6 million a year. He's got 6 points in 17 games. Again, I'm getting all this off of Cap Friendly. So again, I highly suggest use Cap Friendly. It's a great website. But it is a big deal when you're scratching a star like that. Mind you, he is in the last year of his contract, so this may be sending a message to the team but again, doesn't help his trade value if you're gonna end up looking to flip him. So I'm curious if does he have a no movement clause at this one? He has a modified no trade clause, 10-team no trade clause. So I imagine that's just California. And the rule that I've heard is 10-team no trade clause is typically California teams and the Canadian teams, typically for tax reasons, you want to save as much money as you can. So also, he looks like he got mostly signing bonuses in the previous years, so it looks like it's just base salary. So that'll be better, and it's less base salary. It's less money than his cap hit actually is, so which would be good for teams who are trying to save some money, but also trying to get a good player, which means Chicago can get a little bit better of a pick out of it. So. But lastly, let's talk about the last part of news. Someone who is doing super hot right now, 30 points in 17 games. Talk about Marty Natchez of the Carolina Hurricanes. 11 goals, 19 assists. He's got more assists than games played, which is amazing to see. And right now, currently is on a 144-point pace, which is amazing. I mean, that is a 12th overall pick. I mean, again, you're looking at guys that come out of this draft class like that's a production you don't expect out of a 12th overall pick kind of guy. 144 pick pace, right? And think about how many guys you pick ahead of him, right? I mean, and again, Elias Pettersson in that same draft class is currently putting up 51 points in that same pace, right? But I mean, Martin Natchez, this is coming out of nowhere. This is not his typical of what you've seen of him. I mean, the last couple of years, he's done well. I mean, his best season prior to this was in 22-23 when he had 71 points in 82 games, still under a point per game player. So it's sitting really more around that. I mean, a little over half point per game player, 50 points. He had 53 points last year in 77 games. So you're looking at around like a 56 or like almost 60 point pace at that point. Yeah, a little under that. But overall, you're just not expecting this out of a guy like him because you're like, where is this coming from? I mean, in Carolina, Carolina is doing well. Carolina is looking at this. They're top in the Metro. And they're actually, let me rephrase, they're actually top of the league. No, they're not. Winnipeg Jets are, of course. It's the Winnipeg Jets, of course. So Carolina Hurricanes have 26 points in 17 games, which is tied with the New Jersey Devils, who have played 21 games. So that means that Carolina has a better points percentage, which means they're at the top of the division, which is great for them. Again, they're doing a great job. It's very impressive. Again, it always looks like Carolina's year. And so I'm honestly, it's hilarious that they always seem to find guys like they never draft high. They make odd trades. They let a bunch of people go. They let Brett Pesce go, Brady Shea. They bring in Sean Walker. They bring in Shane Gostisbehere. Like they bring out all these guys that you're like, oh, what? They're just like shaking this whole lineup up, and it's working, and it's freaking working, which you love to see and everything. So again, the reason we're bringing up Marty Natchez is because we also have someone who's not doing as well, and we talk about Elias Pettersson, 5 points, 5 assists, 5 goals, 5 assists in 10 points in 16 games. This is coming from a guy, but again, 51-point pace. This is a guy who put up just 2 years ago, 22-23, 102 points in 80 games. So not even a full season, still hits over 100 points. Last year, 89 points in 82 games, 34 goals. I mean, this guy could score 40 goals. I don't know if it's going to be this year at this point because you now have, like 66 games to score 35 goals. I mean, it's over a goal every other game. So, and there's talks, and the reason I'm bringing this up again is that we're talking about there was a real talks of when there was issues trying to sign Elias Pettersson. They were looking to sign him to an 8-year deal. He's like, I don't want to sign. I'm unsure. So what they ended up doing is there was talks of Elias because like Vancouver's like, well, we're not letting this guy walk for nothing. We got to get something for him. So talks was Pettersson for Nate. Rumor has it Pettersson for Natchez, Brett Pesce, who was on expiring contract, Natchez, who was also on expiring contract, for and draft picks for Elias Pettersson. So you have Pesce, Natchez, and draft picks. And so there was no guarantee that, Vancouver was going to be able to sign these guys. But I mean, if you looking back in this right now, you probably want Marty Natchez. But mind you, Marty Natchez is on a 2-year contract now. Brett Pesce is now with the Devils. I think he's on a 5 or 6 year contract at $5 million. I'll look it up real quick. $5.5 million. And actually it is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-year contract. So a 6-year contract at $5.5 million. Again, you're signing it's a right shot D, but he is 30 years old, so you're getting a little bit older. And again, I think Vancouver's trying to keep in that window of like the late 20s kind of guy. But mind you, the moral story was that Vancouver did signing Elias Pettersson, not the defenseman Elias Pettersson, the forward, the center. for $11.6 million for 8 years, which is a very high. So you're looking at a guy who's putting up Eric Carlson production. Eric Carlson has the same production, similar production to Elias Pettersson. And they're both making a crazy amount of money, around the same amount. Elias Pettersson 11.6, Eric Carlson 11.5 million. And so again, if you're looking at it now retroactively, it kind of looks like the Nature's trade is going to be better. And mind you, Carolina only had to sign Nature's for the next 2 years at 6.5 million. So you're saving a ton of money. And this guy might end up walking in 2 years, but it's working out for them right now. And if they get a cup out of it, that's all that matters. That's all that matters. So again, we'll see. I mean, we never wish the downfall for guys. You want Natchez to continue to produce well. You want Elias Pettersson to continue to produce well. The problem is if you cheer for goal scorers, that hurts goalies. If you cheer for goalies, that hurts goal scorers. Again, you just want everyone to have a good time. You want people to have to do well and everything. And so, I hope nothing but the best for Pettersson. Hopefully he gets it together. I don't know what he needs. I don't know what Jolt needs, but maybe I don't know. I don't know. And I hope he figures it out because, again, Vancouver is doing well as well, by the way. Vancouver is third in the Pacific, 16 games, 21 points. I mean, and they're only behind the LA Kings and the Vegas Golden Knights, but points percentage, they're looking pretty good. If they win one more game, they'll have less games played and they'll be tied with the LA Kings. So that puts them in second in the Pacific. And again, Vegas Golden Knights at 24 points. So they were 3 points away and 3 games away. So that's totally doable. That's absolutely within reach. So the fact that the Vancouver Canucks are doing this well without Elias Pettersson producing, it does say something about the team structure and everything. Again, you have great players like Quinn Hughes leading the team with 17 points in 16 games. You have JT Miller, point per game, 16-16. Connor Garland, 12 points in 16 games. Brock Besser was doing phenomenal, 6 goals, 5 assists, 11 points for 12 games. Of course, he's out now because of his head conduct we talked about earlier in the video. Jake DeBrusk is looking, and you probably want to see a little more production out of Jake DeBrusk for that $7 million contract per year, 10 points in 16 games. But overall, like, Quinn Hughes is captaining this team, leading this team, and he is running away with it, and we love to see that. Phil Perona, where are you at? 6 and 16? Let's see more of that. But again, if your D partner, Quentin Hughes, is getting all that stuff, that's kind of all that matters right now, right? So anyways, we're going to move on to our next break, our third chunk of the video. And when we come back, a little ad break from Raycon, and we'll jump right into it afterwards because I got some complaining to do about this LA Kings loss and the Red Wings. I did it yesterday, but I'm going to bitch. I'm going to complain because I'm frustrated. All right. Lastly, we're talking about the Detroit Red Wings, and here we go. So, dude, screw these Red Wings. They're infuriating. It's only I'm pulling this up right now. So they lose 4-1 to the LA Kings. And immediately in the first period, you get two goals from the LA Kings. And again, I understand that you're on a back-to-back. I understand that you're on a back-to-back. You lose to the Anaheim Ducks 6-4. That was on you. So, and the reason, and so they're playing, and this is a compact schedule, I will say. Your Red Wings today. It's currently Sunday. Saturday, you're playing the Anaheim Ducks. Okay, it's your first game. It's hard travel, but it's the worst team in the league. You should beat them. You lose 6-4, and you get your ass handed to you in the third period, getting 4 goals scored on you. Then you're like, okay, well, it's a back-to-back. So the LA Kings to me was not an expected loss, but it was like an acceptable loss. So but there's a reason you have to win the Anaheim game is because this is an expected loss because LA Kings are good. They're playing really well. Again, pull up the stats. I think they're sitting in their, I think they're fourth in they're second. They're second in the Pacific right now, right? And they're third in their conference, or they're fourth in their fourth in their conference. Sorry. Fourth in their conference, second in the Pacific. So again, looking like a solidified playoff team. Made some decent moves this year. Picked up Chandler Jeannot. He's been out for a couple games. Again, suspension. We talked about it. But they moved off the PLD contract, right? So there's some excitability with them. They have Byfield side now signed for a good chunk at a good price and everything. It does go to UFA, which is kind of a bummer. But overall, like, this is one that you're kind of expected to lose. The goal of these trips is like, yeah, it's going West Coast, but you're trying to shake up the team, change pace, and now you're sitting at a 7-9-1 record, which is a losing record. You need 2 wins just to get to 500, right? And if you look at the standings now, Detroit Red Wings, 15 points. Now Columbus Blue Jackets did fall behind them now, right? So in the conference, you have the Montreal Canadiens and Columbus Blue Jackets behind you. But ahead of you is like the Pittsburgh Penguins. Do you want to be in the company of the Pittsburgh Penguins? No, you don't want to be. You want to be ahead of them. You want to be ahead of guys like Ottawa Senators, Buffalo Sabres, like the Islanders and Flyers, who are actively rebuilding 18 points in 18 games. You're sitting at 15 points in 17 games. So even if you win next game, you're going to be at 17 points in 18 games. So you're still below 500. So what, like, because I'm not, and I haven't pushed this. I haven't talked about this because it didn't feel appropriate. And I talked about this yesterday. And I'm going to give a quick synopsis. Again, I did this yesterday. And if you want to check it out, if you listened to yesterday, great. But I'll tell you again, because if you're new to joining, welcome. Put like, subscribe, put a nice comment down there. Tell me how good my mustache looks. It is new, and my wife hates it. And so again, it's for Movember. We're doing it for Movember for prostate cancer. Men, get your prostate checked out. Anyways, so you're looking at, there's a couple things you can do. You can make a trade. They did. They traded Olimot out, right? You can scratch a guy. They scratch Gustafson. They scratch Petrie. So there's 2 guys that are veteran leadership. Say, hey, nope, you're not playing right enough. Like, go sit in the press box. You're like, okay, well, then you can waive a guy. They waived Justin Hall, who went down for a hot second, then came back up. He is playing well. That seemed to have worked for him, which is good. They waived Billy Husso. It has not seemed to work for him. He's playing okay down in AHL, but again, when they called him the other day for a game, he lost pretty badly. So he's down back in the AHL again. Then you're like, okay, well, let's bring some fresh blood in here. It's Casper, right? So they already have Berggren and Johansson. They bring up Casper. Casper looks like he's playing well. He got his first NHL goal. By the way, I do want to say real quick, just to acknowledge, Casper had his first NHL goal. Yes, with his first NHL goal. He's the 3rd youngest Austrian-born player to have a goal, or 3rd youngest, right? And the other one is, and I have this in my photos. I just looked at it earlier. It was Adrian Kempe. No, Andre Burakovsky and Marco Dano both had those in 2014. Again, Casper's the 3rd youngest Austrian-born player. He played, I think he grew up mostly in Sweden, but he was Austrian-born. So he knows German, Swedish, and English, which is phenomenal for a kid, like 20 years old. So good for him. He's really showing up. It looks like he's probably going to stick this year, but they do have the option to send him down if they want to. But again, so the only other 2 things you can do, and you made a trade to move a guy off the roster. The other thing you can do is you can trade for a guy to bring on the roster to shake things up. But again, Red Wings aren't really in a position. To me, they're not a playoff team. They're a bubble playoff team. They don't have they're young guys up here, enough young guys up here to show that they're good enough. They haven't brought in good enough UFAs, in my opinion. They brought in guys that were outside their prime. They're going to Kane Tarasenko. Kane's not playing the way he should be. Tarasenko's not playing the way he should be. Petrie, also outside his prime, not playing the way he should be. Ergo, that Canadians series when they went to the Stanley Cup Finals. Then you have Comfer, is fine. You'd like more production on him. Cop contract's not looking great. He's playing on the second line right now. Dylan Larkin's doing okay. I'd like to see a little more. We want to see that point per game player out of him. Lucas Raymond looks phenomenal. DeBrincat's doing about what we expect. So those guys are okay. Sider Edmondson looking great, but like most of this, like a quarter of this team is doing well. Five guys ish, and 5 guys plus Talbot is looking good, right? So you have a good starting lineup. You have a DeBrincat, Larkin, Raymond. You have a Sider Evanson, and you have Talbot. There's the good. There is the good. Everyone else is fringe second line. I'd say Kane is kind of fringe right now. I don't know what's happened. I think he needs to play against on the third line. I think you need like Kane, Kasper, Tarasenko or something like a third line to just kind of shake this up because I don't know what's happening. Like take some harder competition away. I don't know. Like get guys that are firing. And the thing is that their power play is doing phenomenal. I think last time I checked, they were like top 5 or they're top 10 in the league. I mean, they're better than top 10. I'm pretty sure. But I'm like, what's happening, guys? Like, what needs to happen? What needs to be shooken up? Let's see if I can we'll go to the home. I think it shows right here. I'm on ESPN.com as well. So they don't have goals for. It's not showing. Anyways, goals for they're not doing nearly as well. Goals against are 22nd. So that means that they're in the bottom third of the league in the sense of letting goals in. Their power play is doing phenomenal. 4th, 29.8%. I love that. They're tied for 31st for the penalty kill is 66%. What is going on? You are a defensive team. You're a team that's intentionally trying to be defensive. And so we talked about one of the last options is trading for a guy to come on here, but you're not sending out a first round pick. You're not getting a guy that's going to only be here for this year. You either want a guy with term or that's going to sign long term. And those options aren't there really typically before Christmas. Again, Utah had a bunch of injuries, so they traded him. So they traded Olimata to the Utah Hockey Club because they needed a guy, and that worked out well there. You saw the other trade you saw was Daniel Sprong going to the Seattle Kraken. I think that just was a fit issue. I think that they didn't like his attitude or something like that. I mean, but Seattle clearly liked him or clearly wanted him, so that he got traded there. But overall, you don't typically see trades in the NHL right now. It's just more. I mean, again, we saw an AHL trade with the Philadelphia Flyers. It was Edmonton Oilers. That's fine. But trades, they're not available. Again, you're going to be paying more for a guy that's not worth it at this point. And so I'm concerned that the only other option is firing Derek Lalonde. And I'm not there yet. I wasn't there before. I said, nope, let him go. It's his last year. The Red Wings aren't supposed to be a playoff team. There's a lot of dejection here, and it's harder and harder to watch because you're seeing some of these guys, and I'm just like the effort, the hustle's not there, and I'm kind of like, it's a bummer. It is a bummer, and so I'm thinking like you either bring in a guy like Gerard Gallant, right? I do not want Joel Quenneville, by the way. I don't need a guy who had that toxic locker room aspect. Going to the Cal Beach thing, I don't want it, right? Mind you, there is Jim Montgomery, who is on edge with the Boston Bruins. By the way, I will be doing a podcast with the Bruins Tape to Tape podcast. Those girls, they seem like they're going to be fun. So we'll be talking about them. And of course, I'll be asking about Jim Montgomery because, again, as a Red Wings fan, I would like Jim Montgomery. I think he's a great coach. So, and he coached a great Bruins team too. And I think he's going to bring some of that good hustle. And again, I think Derek Lalonde he's done fine. He's done okay. Again, Eisman really hasn't built this team though, so there's only so much that that Derek Lalonde could do with the roster that he's given. He's not given a ton of to work with. Again, you're looking at guys that Red Wings either drafted or made a good trade for, right? You drafted really well with Evanson, you drafted really well with Sider, you drafted really well with Raymond. You got fortunate that you had Dylan Larkin when you were already here. You make a good trade for Alex DeBrincat. Everyone else on this roster can be traded. Cam Talbot. But again, he's not a long-term fix. He's a stopgap. He's 37 years old. He's a stopgap until Costa gets here. And then Augustine, Trey Augustine goes to the AHL and eventually comes up to the NHL. He's with the NCAA. He's with Michigan State University, playing phenomenal, by the way, which is great to hear. So that means you have two great goalie prospects. So, and Alex Lyon is a good goalie right now. He's a good backup. He's a good 1B. He's good for 30 to 35 games. When he had 40 games last year, he started to decline very quickly. And so you have a good tandem. I like the tandem there overall. He had a bad game against the Anaheim Ducks, which is a bummer. But again, it's not impossible. It's totally doable, totally workable. So I just don't know. And other thing is, you have so many guys that have no movement clause, right? You have Petrie has no movement clause. Hall, Sherratt, Kane, Tarasenko, Kopp, Comfer. All these guys have. I mean, and it's possible, right? You can move guys. Some guys they don't want to get moved. They can still be moved. You can incentivize guys. You can ask them to waive their trade. You know, there's certain things you can do to move some of these contracts, but overall, like, it's just not the year. I mean, next year you can buy out Kopp, right? So he's gone. Bring up Danielson. Comfort looks like he's good enough, right? So you bring in, he can be there. Overall, like, I just don't know. I don't know anything else. I mean, if you're gonna fire assistant, I guess, but like the power play looks great. So Alex Tanguay is doing great. Like there was a great who's not Boosh. Who is it? Buble? Not Buble. Bouchard. I can't think of the name. He was a coach for what? Dude, this again. I hate when this happens because it kills me. But Coach Bush. Anyways, it's the Red Wings coaches. They the coaches. Let me look at this up. I'm pulling it up right now. I gotta go on. I gotta go Puckpedia. Yeah, if you haven't checked out Puckpedia, I highly suggest it. Their team info they have right here. Bob Bugner. Gosh dang it, I couldn't think of it. Yeah, Bob Bugner is I'm pretty sure he's the defensive coach, power penalty kill coach. Again, something has happened with him because something's not working right now. And he's listed as an associate coach. Again, I'm sure they all talk and everything, but again, I just don't know. Someone's gonna get fired, and you're not gonna fire Bob Bugner without firing Derek Lalonde as well, right? Like you keep who works and you let go who doesn't. And it seems like the Jay Verande, I think he is a goalie coach. I'm pretty sure. Well, let me click on him. I'm pretty sure he's a goalie coach. Jay Verandi, I think that's his name. I think again, pretty sure he's a goalie coach. Looks like a goalie. Yeah, he's a goalie. He's a goalie and a goalie coach. So good, great for him. Looks like he was a head coach at one point. He's assistant now. He seems to be working out well. He seems to be really working out well, which I'm happy for. Because Talbot's looking really great. Is that because it's Talbot? Is that because it's Talbot? Lion's looking good too. So I don't know. I don't. You never wish for a guy to lose his job, but I think Derek Lalonde is a great assistant coach. I think to me, the way that I like to see coaches is you have a very, very tough head coach, and then you have a great support system around the other guys to pump them up, to work one-on-ones with them. So like I am a huge fan of Tortorella, but I know who Tortorella is. I know how tough he can be, and that's why you have to have a good team around him that support him that have the same direction. You have to all the coaches go in the same direction, but you need to be tough on these guys because some of these guys have. I mean, all hockey players have these egos, so you need to knock them out, get them out of their head, and say, "Hey, get your shit together. I believe in you. We know we've seen it. We've seen X, Y, and Z. If you're talking to Elias Patterson, you had 100 points. What's happening? What do we need to do? Something. Get your head out of your ass, and then go right. And that's a head coach's job. And then that can kind of trickle down. And now the is good. Hey, let's go work on your skating. Let's work on your shot. Let's do something, right? Like, let's go do a party. Let's go do something out. These guys can help support your direction of a coach. And right now, I think Derek Lalonde's not a tough enough coach for what they need. Like, you need a tough coach that can squeeze more out of these guys than is worth. Tortorella is known for that. Gallant did a great job with the New York Rangers. Again, you have, I mean, I would love to see Fedorov. I would love to see Larionov, who are both in the KHL, coaching over there. I would love to see that. I just need to change. I need something tougher, right? And of course, Sergei Fedorov has won the Gagarin Cup as GM and head coach. I would love to see that. And let's get some fresh blood, get some new blood into here. Again, if Jim Montgomery gets fired, I'd be open to him as well. I just think there's going to be a shakeup. I don't think this is a year. I mean, I think that Red Wings could still push for a playoff spot. They still can. That's the issue, is that there's still hope. My heart's hurting because I'm hurt. It's the hope. It's the hope aspect of, I don't know. Do I want to bet on this team? Like, I mean, and if you're gonna bet, use DraftKings. But I just don't know if you want to bet on this team right now to make the playoffs. There's no indication that it's gonna get better, and I just don't know what's gonna happen. I just don't know what can happen. So, anyways, let me know what your thoughts are. Hit like, subscribe, put your favorite comment down there. Again, I'm struggling. I'm struggling. I'm a Red Wings fan who's just struggling. I'm just a small town girl living in a lonely world. Boy, just a small town boy, born and raised in South Detroit. Yeah, there you go. Goodness gracious, how did I miss that one up? Anyways, put your favorite emoji down the comments. I love you so much. Join us tomorrow. We're gonna be doing another episode tomorrow. So join us, and then again, we have some upcoming guests on podcasts and everything. So if you want to party, let me know, and catch you later. Love you guys.